Hello everyone and welcome to TV Talks, the show where I take a look at both the good and the bad of what television has to offer. Today, we're taking a look at another Cartoon Network show, but no, this one is not part of the retrospective. This is one that a lot of people have wanted me to take a look at for a long time. So what is it? It's Camp Lazlo, created by Joe Murray, who is the same person who created Rocko's Modern Life, you know, that somewhat popular Nickelodeon show. This debuted on Cartoon Network, and despite the fact it didn't have a crazy long run, it was a very big hit up until the very end, but, we'll get there pretty soon. So, this show is about Lazlo, a monkey voiced by Carlos Alazraqui, who also voiced the title character in Rocko's Modern Life. I guess he kind of has a thing for bringing back recurring cast members, as we see Tom Kenny and Doug Lawrence are also here. Anyways, Lazlo goes to a camp called Camp Kidney. It's bean-themed, of course, and it's not the best camp. It's actually kind of a dump. Not many good things happen there. A lot of the campers are not great people. But Lazlo and his friends, Raj and Clam, try to make the most out of every little thing going on in camp and try to have the best summer ever. Along the way, they run into the evil scoutmaster and his subordinate slug assistant, the camp from across the lake that is perfect in every way, and a whole bunch of other stuff. Basically, the way I can describe this as, it's like Rocko's Modern Life, but less edgy. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, because Rocko's Modern Life barely got away with all the stuff it did back in the day. And it's not the 90s anymore. Parents are a lot more observant of what their kids are going to watch on TV, and the censors go way overboard, in case you haven't been able to tell from recent years. But it still has a lot of those innuendos, and it still has a lot of those weird things, like pinecone sitting being a sport for one, or the occasional references to something not so kid-friendly. Although they're not as prevalent as they are in Rocko's Modern Life, they're still there, and the humor is very strong. Another thing that it keeps from Rocko is that fast-paced animation, which ties into the humor. There's a lot of slapstick and physical humor here, and I know that may not be for everybody, but it's well-timed enough, and it's very fluid, so it makes it feel really strong, and you always feel the impact there. But not in a way that actually makes you cringe. It's always full of fun, full of brightness, full of energy. There's never a dull moment in this show, which helps make the humor really strong. If there's a joke in there you don't find all that funny, there'll be one very shortly that you will very likely find funny. And there's very few jokes in here that just don't work. At worst, they're okay. But there are some real gutbusters here. Most of them coming from my personal favorite characters, Scoutmaster Lumpus and Slinkman. Lumpus is the villain of the show, and he is absolutely insane. Sometimes he'll be this big, bossy, know-it-all commander type, but then other times his real colors will show where he's actually just this unstable man-child who can't do anything for himself and he needs Slinkman to balance him out. And Slinkman's just kind of the straight man who has to take everything that Lumpus does in stride. Both are played by Tom Kenny and both are always great. But Lumpus and Slinkman aren't the only great characters. Just about every character in this show is great. Lazlo is just so lovable with his constant excitement and energy. He's a little SpongeBob-ish, admittedly, which probably couldn't have been a coincidence, because a lot of the people who worked on this, like, Doug Lawrence, for instance, or Tom Kenny, they worked on SpongeBob, so there might be a little bit of an influence there, but he's still really likable and fun. Clam is always hilarious with his one-word sentences that he doesn't really amount to much a lot of the time, but still, a lot of the stuff he'll do in the background is pretty funny, or just how brief of interaction he has with people is great. Raj is a lot of fun. Edward, despite being such a curmudgeon, is actually a pretty relatable person sometimes, because, sometimes you are kind of surrounded by people who just don't know what they're doing, and you're the only one that actually knows what you're doing. Still, Edward's not a great person, though. He's actually just like a real bad guy, but when you look at his family, it's no wonder. The only character I'm really not crazy about is Samson. Samson's the nerdy kid in Camp Kidney, and he's got a lot of allergies, he's really precautious, and he's really arrogant. I mean, he's not a bad character, it's just nothing funny really comes from him a lot of the time. And every so often it'll be funny, like that episode where he is convinced that nobody thinks he exists. That was pretty good. But a lot of the time, Samson just doesn't really amount to anything. So, we got good humor and we got good characters. How are the stories? They're very off the wall. In the best possible way, of course. They got things like Lazlo getting a leash stuck to the side of his head and it becoming his new parasitic pal, as the episode would say. the Bean Scouts and the Squirrel Scouts engaging in pinecone sitting, Edward's brothers coming back to Camp Kidney and then proceeding to terrorize them, Santa becoming a Bean Scout. Or my favorite episode, the cabins all take place in a kart racing competition and Slinkman is the Jelly Cabin's driver. Now, there's just so many great things going on here. The show is nothing but constant fun and excitement, and it kind of does give off the feeling of being a kid again. Maybe that is just nostalgia in a sense, but hey, still gives off a fun vibe. There is one thing I cannot say I like about the show, though. And it's not really the show itself, it's how it ended. The ending. Both of them. There are two canon endings to Camp Lazlo that completely contradict each other. And I have no idea which one it is. So, first ending is that Scoutmaster Algonquin Lumpus finally gets engaged to the girl of his dreams, Miss Jane Doe, the leader of the Squirrel Scouts from across Leaky Lake. So, they're gonna have a wedding, but then the ring gets stuck in Raj's nose, and then they all get stuck in Raj's nose, and then they get married. Cool. Fun ending. But that's not the ending they go with, because in the preceding episodes that follow, that's never mentioned again, and Lumpus seems to be single again. So what's the actual ending? Lumpus's Last Stand, where Lumpus creates an idea to replace everyone in the town's clothes with paint. So people paint on their clothes, ignoring the fact that if they had any stuff down there, you'd probably be able to see it through the paint. But anyways, he does all this and everybody thinks he's a hero and a genius. And as it rains, all the paint melts off. Oh, funny. Camp Lazlo, funny episode. But then something really weird happens. Heifer from Rocco's Modern Life comes out and then reveals that Scoutmaster Lumpus is actually a deranged escaped mental patient who locked him in all summer and stole his place as the Scoutmaster of Camp Kidney. And then Lumpus is hauled away and then the show ends. I don't get this. The show's established that this whole thing doesn't take place over one summer. I mean, there's Halloween and stuff in here and everything. What about Jane Doe? What's going on with her? Wouldn't Slinkman know that Scoutmaster Lumpus isn't the actual Scoutmaster? Wouldn't Commander Hoo-Ha, the head of all these camps, wouldn't he know that Scoutmaster Lumpus isn't the Scoutmaster? Why would Scoutmaster Lumpus take a job he doesn't like, as we see in many episodes that he's trying to leave Camp Kidney and get out of his terrible job? How come in previous episodes Scoutmaster Lumpus said he got the job because his dad got the job and then gave it to him? And for that matter, if he's not actually the Scoutmaster of Camp Kidney, how come it's a hereditary thing where every single oldest child in his family is the leader of Camp Kidney? It just raises too many questions. But the last episode aside, Camp Lazlo is just non-stop fun, with great writing, great animation, great characters, great everything you could ever want. And I give it the Archibald seal of approval. It's a shame, though, what happened to Camp Lazlo, because, like I said, it was really popular up until the very end. You see, Cartoon Network was starting to move into a new era, which I'm going to get to in the very next video. A lot of things were on the chopping block. There was a lot of stuff going on in the transition between the CEOs at the time, because one of them resigned due to the Boston bomb scare, and then they got a new guy in, and we all know who that is, and he pushed for some content that we're going to get into in our next video. And a lot of shows like Class of 3000 or, Camp Lazlo were kind of either canceled or ignored up until they were ending. And that's what happened to Lazlo. It kind of got ignored for a while, and a lot of promotion just started disappearing for it, so the ratings dropped, and then Cartoon Network said that it had done its purpose and canceled it. But it's better to go out early and still be really, really good in quality than to go out after 10 million seasons and a massive drop in quality. Looking at you, Modern Family and The Simpsons. So, what do you guys think of Camp Lazlo? Comment below, let me know, and I'll see you tomorrow for more Wishlist Week.
Good night, everybody.